In today's episode of the Pathmonk Presents podcast, I got a very interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Kristen Knouft, and she's hailing over from the folks over at WizeHive. And they have a great tagline on the website, powering your purpose. So it helps basically you guys to manage grants, scholarships, fellowships, and much more. It has a lot of functionality around that in that space. So yeah, basically want to really learn about how WizeHive works and actually let's see how corporate giving and volunteering solutions can get to the next level. So Kristen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lucas. Glad to be here.
Sure. So maybe tell people a little bit more about WizeHive. What is it all about in your own words?
Sure. Yes. So WizeHive provides software as well as some services. And our focus is really on helping mission-driven organizations. And I'll share a little bit more about what that means. But what we're trying to do is help them really increase their social impact. Primarily comes in the form of sort of helping them with their philanthropic giving, as well as sort of volunteer opportunities. There's sort of three components to the solution I can touch on. The first is really a module or a part of the platform that helps organizations actually give away money. So we call that granting. Often organizations who are granting money do so by collecting applications from those who are in need of money. They might be small nonprofits. It could be an individual looking for a scholarship, but the grant maker or the giver is collecting data, they're reviewing it, and they're making decisions about sort of where to best put their philanthropic dollars. They use our platform to do that. We sort of think about that as sort of centralized giving, right? So an organization will do that at sort of a corporate level. They'll kind of decide on how to give money away kind of based on their corporate culture, their mission, or it could be a nonprofit, giving for around those same values. But there's a second piece of the platform, which is really about what we call sort of workplace or employee giving. And what this does is sort of allows an organization to put giving in the hands of their people. So we have a solution that has a portal where an individual can go and search, all of the, millions of certified charities in the US and even some globally, and really find organizations that fit with their passion. So if I have a passion around early childhood education, I could search our platform. I could find nonprofits that sort of fit with that passion. And then I am actually able to give money right through the platform. And more importantly, my company can support me in that. The platform allows the employers to match dollars. It allows some other things around sort of giving, what we call giving credits. The same thing can happen from a volunteer perspective. So as an employee, I can go search on, how can I volunteer for home, to support in homeless shelters, and I can look at different opportunities near and dear, or not only near and dear to my heart, but possibly near my home. Those can happen sort of, you could do that individually, you can do that with a team, and then the platform allows for the sort of tracking of all of that social impact that's happening. Finally, we're really excited. We just acquired a company called WeHero, that actually is really well known, and they do a tremendous job of doing high impact, volunteer events where they're bringing together employees, could be virtually, could be remotely, and they're really educating them around different, a particular philanthropic cause. And they're in many ways sort of getting them involved in certain projects. It could be like actually building a water filtration system to help communities in Africa. And we did that because we found that experiential part of giving it's such a powerful catalyst to the whole kind of social impact in an organization's sort of social impact giving volunteering program. And it's just a really powerful differentiator for us.
Gotcha. Very cool. Super interesting. Now, what types of businesses do you typically work with? Like, what would be a sort of, a typical customer looking like? Is there a certain size, certain industries that they're in? Maybe tell us a bit about that.
Sure. We think about our market, or we go to market with a focus on, I'll call it 3 mega segments. And they are mega. Each one of them is large and different. But the first one I've sort of alluded to is corporations, and typically, anything from large and mid-sized organizations are becoming more and more keenly aware of the importance of social impact. So they may be looking to give out, as I talked about, give out grants sort of at a central level, maybe even scholarships, but they also want to extend that giving opportunity directly to their employees. So that's a big segment for us. And there's certainly, within that's, I know that's a big universe of corporate. Within that, we find, high technology companies, large branded consumer products companies, large service organizations as sort of really have really been at the forefront of adopting some of those solutions. So that's really where our primary focus is right now. The second mega segment is government, actually state and local, with ARPA funding that sort of came out about from COVID. The states, have a lot of money that they need to go re-grant down to local communities, to local nonprofits, and so they are often using our grant making platform to do that. And then finally, it's sort of a broad bucket, but we call it sort of the other nonprofit organizations we sort of put into a bucket, but that could be large foundations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It could be other large charities, like American Red Cross, that are all looking to really give their money out to other organizations and really make really wise choices about how to invest that money and how to make sure they're getting impact from those dollars.
Very interesting. Now, how do these organizations learn about you guys? Like, what would be the channels that you guys are leveraging?
Yeah, right now, I would say the primary way is really searching, right there. We are in what I'll call an active market. I've been in my career in markets where we were creating a new concept, so nobody's out searching and shopping for it because they didn't know it existed, right? And that sort of requires a very different marketing approach. But with sort of the continued increase in philanthropy, with the continued focus on social impact, a lot of our target organizations or our target market, they are out actively searching for a grants management platform, employee giving platforms. And so we're going to where they go, and we're focusing on our searches, both organic, trying to show up organically, obviously trying to make sure they find content from us when they're doing those searches, and certainly pay-per-click advertising.
Makes sense. Now, how do you think about the website then? Like, what role do you think it plays in their journey?
I mean, I think because that's where they're starting, is searching. I think it plays a really huge role, right? They're out there looking, our prospects are out there looking for solutions. So I think we've done a pretty good job of ensuring that they find us on the site, or find us when they're out there searching, especially for more of those high intent keywords. I think I'm probably one of these people that I'm never sort of fully satisfied, and I do think that there's a lot more that we can do to really make sure that once they do land on our site, that we're really optimizing that experience, giving them the information that they are looking for and need, and really getting them into the funnel. So I'll say, I'd say we do a good job of getting them there. I absolutely know there's more we could be doing to really, give them better information that really aligns with where they are in the buying process, and sort of getting them into connected into our team.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Now, is there something that you think is a strength of the website versus where do you see room for improvement, for further development?
Yeah, I actually think this, by the way, we actually have, I talked about, we've, acquired a company. So there are sort of multiple websites right now that we will eventually bring together. But in general, I think the strength across the sites is that, a lot of times tech companies really lead with the tech, and they lead with the tools. Which is important, right? Because people are looking to understand, but I think we do a good job of sort of starting and leading with the broader vision and the broader impact that our solution could have. And in particular, we've done a lot of work because we work with these incredibly inspiring, nonprofit organizations often. they have a wonderful story to tell. And our story is really that we just power their story. As you said, we power their purpose. So I think we've done a really nice job of bringing those customers of ours and their mission front and center in the website. We have a whole page of hero stories, that like videos that just talk about the incredible missions and how we help them with that. I do think that, there's certainly lots of room for improvement on, how easily they can find that information, how easily they can find other information on the technology itself. So while I think we've done a good job highlighting the missions and the customers, there's certainly more we could do on sort of giving folks the practical information they probably want when they're looking for a platform.
Very cool. Now, I'd like to switch gears a little bit, right? We talked about the website, we talked about the journey. Now, I'd love to talk about your typical day. Like, what does a typical day for Kristen look like at WizeHive?
Oh goodness, I don't know that there is a typical day. I mean, I would say I definitely I get a nice mix of spending time with both a lot of folks internally, because I obviously have the marketing team, and I have a great team that's doing a lot of work in terms of content. So I'm spending time with them, looking at, what are the trends in the industry? What are the next pieces of content we want to put out, helping them even craft some of that content. I spend a lot of time looking at metrics. Honestly, I have a great inbound team and outbound team, and they're very metric oriented, looking every single day at how much pipeline have we been able to drive and yield, and they're always sort of coming up with sort of new, better ways to measure and more accurately measure and manage that. So I spend a fair amount of time looking at that data, talking to those teams. What can we be doing differently and improving? I also have responsibility for our partner channel. So we spend a fair amount of time. I do get to talk to a number of our partners pretty regularly, and also, with our team internally on, what are other things we can be doing for our partners? What are some other ways we can be sort of attracting in more partnerships? And so maybe that gives you a flavor of the day, but I think the flavor I'm giving you is that it's pretty varied, but definitely a nice mix of metrics, creative content, internal, external, a lot of work with the good team that I work with.
Very cool. Now, I would love to switch gears a little bit and jump into some rapid fire questions to get to know you and your journey with WizeHive a little bit better. Are you ready for those?
Sure.
First one would be maybe a little bit atypical. What would be sort of the last book or the last podcast you've been listening to or reading?
Well, I'm trying to read more personal stuff. I actually am a huge fan, podcast-wise. I am a huge fan of Guy Raz and How I Built This. It's done through, I think, NPR. But I'm also a really big fan of the Wall Street Journal. It just has like a daily sort of story that just kind of helps not only sort of it's a good refresh on sort of things going on in the business world, but just kind of also make sure that I'm looking out beyond the world I live in every single day. So I do love learning more and more about what's going on in marketing and in my sector. But I think it's really important to stay more diversified and make sure I'm learning what's going on outside the world of WizeHive.
Very cool. What would be the one single thing that you guys focus on the most at WizeHive?
Within marketing or more generally?
Maybe how you would like to phrase it. Like, you feel free to talk from a marketing perspective or from a company-wide perspective.
I think from a company perspective, it's really constantly looking at our customers' missions and how do we evolve the product and the experience to support that, and really. And because, that takes some, time and investment, because as I talked about, we do try to serve a fairly broad market, a number of different markets from governments. And so just it's really important that we're constantly connecting and understanding what's important in the government, as it relates to grant making, what's important for companies as it relates to their own employee giving, and how do we continue to do more to engage them. And so I think I'd say a lot of time focused on either thinking strategically about how do we enhance the product or actually making sort of changes and doing good work to just constantly innovate and evolve.
Very cool. Now, then I would say very last question would be, right? If you could be traveling back to the day when you joined WizeHive, like what would be the one advice you would give yourself for that journey?
I think I would say, like, I would have more quickly tried to sort of more deeply learn some of the business segments that we operate in. I think we were fairly broad and fairly horizontal for a fair amount of time. And as you may know, and the sales and marketers listening to this will know, it's really hard to be to really fuel and drive growth when you're so broad. So the sooner you can get focused on sort of key market segments and understanding their problems and really tuning everything toward that, whether it's your marketing message, your product, your sales, approach, your customer, journey management, all those, the sooner you can do that, the better.
Very, very cool. Now, Kristen, I really appreciate you took the time with us today to be guest on Powerful Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about WizeHive, what's the one advice? What's the one thing, or rather, they should remember?
I would say, especially for those working for corporations, that employee engagement is really, really critical right now. Just I think with people being more and more remote, with unfortunately there's still layoffs happening in the tech sector, which sort of leaves remaining employees sort of feeling I think a bit vulnerable and maybe disenfranchised. So employee engagement's huge right now, and one of the things we found is the most powerful way to drive employee engagement. It's no longer about happy hours. It's no longer about just training. It is about finding a way to together as an organization create meaningful social impact. So, I mean, and that really is what we have sort of tuned our solutions around. It's how do you help organizations drive social impact, and in doing so, really achieving greater engagement, which helps you drive greater social impact. So that sort of, it's really a wonderful flywheel that we can get going. So if you haven't started to explore social impact solutions like employee giving or employee grant making, let us know. We'd be happy to talk with you about it.
Very cool. Kristen, thanks a lot for being a guest on Powerful Presents.
My pleasure. Thank you.